Ferguson, Missouri is on edge as residents there await a grand jury decision in the shooting death of Michael Brown Jr. He was unarmed when a white police officer, Darren Wilson, fatally shot him on August 9th. Missouri Governor Jay Nixon spoke about how law enforcement plans to deal with a potentially violent response if the jury fails to indict Wilson.
Officers from the Missouri State Highway Patrol, St. Louis County Police, and St. Louis City Police will operate as a unified command to protect the public. The National Guard has been and will continue to be part of our contingency planning. The Guard will be available when we determine it is necessary to support local law enforcement. Quite simply, we must and will be fully prepared.
Well, several leaks from the proceedings suggest that the grand jury might not indict Wilson. Meanwhile, the Justice Department is conducting a civil rights investigation. U.S. President Barack Obama spoke earlier about his role in that process.
The DOJ works for me, and when they're conducting an investigation, I've got to make sure that I don't look like I'm putting my thumb on the scales one way or the other. So it's hard for me to address a specific case beyond making sure that it's conducted in a way that isn't transparent, where there's accountability, where people can trust the process, hoping that as a consequence of a fair and just process, you end up with a fair and just outcome.
For the latest on the case, our guest from St. Louis, Missouri is KTRS talk radio personality McGraw Milhaven. He is the host of the McGraw Show, and he is joining us from St. Louis. Hey, McGraw, it's good to see you. So, of course, everyone is speculating about when this decision is going to come down, and I know rumors are flying and abounding, but is there any way to know when this decision is going to be announced?
Well, yes, there are a lot of leaks, and there is no credible leak. There's no credible rumor. Bob McCullough, prosecuting attorney, keeps saying and just said yesterday, look, we're not finished. We will let you know, and anything else is just rank speculation. And so while you talk to everybody in St. Louis, everyone's heard something, everyone knows something. The truth is, nobody knows when they're going to be finished. There's
a coalition group there that I understand that has requested that they be given 48 hours warning before the announcement is made, ostensibly to prepare the community and perhaps even schools and other public organizations. Any chance that that might happen?
I don't know. That's a good question. Nothing has really been said from the officials on that. What I find interesting about that is, why do they need 48 hours? If they're going to be peacefully protesting, why do you need 48 hours? Why not just have it come out when it comes out? Why all of a sudden do you need 48 hours? What do you have to prepare for? It's a question that I haven't heard anybody answer.
Well, McGraw, speaking of that peaceful protest or not, Governor Nixon has said that he will call in the National Guard if necessary. I'm just wondering what the reaction has been to this statement that he made to the press today.
Yeah, reactions coming in all over the place. Again, if you're a peaceful protester and you're protesting peacefully, I think you're fine. The reason why the National Guard was called in last time, and the reason why the National Guard seems like will be called in again, is because there was property damage. There was damage all over the place. So you could make the argument that there wasn't enough police presence last time because there was property damage. There were stores that were burned down. There were stores that were looted. So the reason why it was called in last time was because of the violence. Why is it going to be called in again? Because of the violence. So if you're not violent, then there's no need to worry.
Yeah, I'm sure there is a segment of the population who wants it to be peaceful, and then there's that segment of the population over whom no one has control. Let me ask you about this. There's an interesting side note that you and I were talking about before the show, and that is another black man who was shot by a white police officer that none of us have heard about. Tell us about that one.
This one is really perplexing. So Pine Lawn, and Debbie, you know St. Louis a little bit. Pine Lawn is the town just next to Ferguson. It's a town of 3,200 people, has a small police force, and a month before Michael Brown was shot, a white police officer shot a black man. Bob McCullough came out just yesterday and said, it's a justifiable shooting. Well, we haven't heard anything about it. We didn't know anything about it. And when this decision was made, nobody was screaming and yelling. Now, what's interesting is, who was the police chief of Pine Lawn? His name is Anthony Gray. Who was Anthony Gray? Anthony Gray also happens to be the family's attorney for Michael Brown. So he was calling for Bob McCullough to step down in the Michael Brown shooting. Has he called for Bob McCullough to step down in the Pine Lawn shooting? It's his police officer who was just vindicated by Bob McCullough. Seems like there's a conflict of interest somewhere along there.
Yeah, very interesting indeed. Before I let you go, McGraw, can you tell me what you've learned about how law enforcement specifically has been training in these intervening weeks and months for what may happen if an indictment is not brought down?
Yeah, I guess they're much more ready this time. Last time they were clearly caught off guard. I think we all were. Nobody was prepared for what to transpire, to treat the peaceful protesters peacefully, to let them have their say, and yet keep businesses open and streets open. I think the feds have come in. There's been a lot of training. I know they've talked to the media about the best practices, the best way to do this, the safest way to do this. So you keep your fingers crossed, but hopefully the smarter people in the room, the adults in the room, have sort of taken the time to sort of talk to the experts and figure out the best way to have this information released and have the public react peacefully.
Indeed, violence doesn't serve anyone. McGraw Milhaven, thank you so much.
Always a pleasure, Deb.